Subscribe to our channel.
Perfect. Nice.
So the boat I was in was Brandon Davis design.
That's what I thought. Yeah, exactly. Because he's Turn Point.
Yeah, Brandon's Turn Point, and he does the Splinter.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
Does the Splinter paddle boards.
Yeah, he's got like the carbon shop and is like the carbon guy.
Yeah, dude. Fuck, on the dock, I feel like I counted like 8 or 10 Splinter boards.
Yeah.
There's a lot of splinters.
There's a bunch making their way around and stuff. Yeah. Well, and Ted was on one who was in second, who was right behind Travis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I got up to Colvos and I camped, and then I woke up in the morning and it was like, 6 a.m., 5 a.m. or whatever, you know, first light. And I was like, man, they're still really close. And that's like, I want to go up to the front, you know, and so I went up to the front to see the showdown.
Dude, Southworth Point for me was so brutal because I was battling. I mean, you were there at the freaking headwinds.
It was all headwinds this year.
Yeah,
that was like everybody, and it was forecast for a tailwind.
Yeah, totally. Dude.
And so I was kind of like,
where is the shift?
That was the thing. I was like, I'm under my numbers. Everything's slower than it's supposed to be. Like I did all the math on this, and like everything's like 20% down from where it should be. Yeah,
I was so bummed, but also I'm pretty convinced that that's the reason I won my division solo class, because I mean my boat is not she's fucking quick for sure, but definitely not like, she's definitely not one of the like the Moss shells or like, you know, one of these surf skis or something. Like water, in terms of waterline and hull speed, like there's no comparison, you know. Like you look at the people that have won before, years before me, and they're coming in at like 10 hours, you know, like 11 hours, something like that. And I did mine in 14 and a half hours. Yeah. Right. So, I was like, so I think I just like really weathered a lot of the waves and like just kind of, I don't know, endured the headwind a little better. Yeah. Maybe. It occurred to me that I was in the lead when I went through the bridge, and that's a whole thing, but like the whole trip from the bridge into the beach, I was like, damn, if I win this thing, that's gonna be insane. Yeah. And also I hope I never freaking win again, because it had to have just been because of the terrible weather, you know? Yeah. But I don't know. It was super interesting. No, it caught me by surprise too, because it's usually like the surf skis and stuff, because they're, you know, and you're like, God, this would have been such the perfect year to do the Port Townsend to Tacoma, right? Yeah, go the other way. That would have been sick. Well, but it was cool. It was mildly rough weather, right? I mean, the weather was consistently rough, but mild. Yeah, I mean, a good portion of the paddleboarders were like, man, out like, you know, east of Bainbridge or whatever. And like, there was a point in the night when I was sure I was going to die. Yeah. You know, I heard it a few times. Yeah, I had that too. Yeah, crossing. So my moment of like sphincter clenching was crossing from Bainbridge to, I guess that would be Jefferson Point, where you go into the mainland there, and there's a huge bay that kind of leads into Agate Pass, and God, the waves were huge. I don't know what caused that. I mean, it must have been like a mixture of like the steady winds that night, and then like cruise ship wakes and ferry wakes and stuff. But I mean, it tends to swirl, you know, because I've gone from like Bainbridge to like Indianola, and there's like a standing wave that'll come out at Agate Pass. Sometimes it's closer in. Yeah. But just there's like, I think, so much going on. Yeah. I think it's the same thing with like Oak Bay. Yeah. And everything, because there's like nowhere for the water to go, and there's so much water going by. Yeah. That I think it like catches it. Yeah. Totally. And spins it or something. But then it goes the other way, and I don't think Oak Bay has enough time to like unspin. It's just kind of always going back and forth. It's a gyre. Yeah. But I think like Agate Pass or Bainbridge or whatever, it might be small enough that it like spins one way and then spins the other. Because you'll go from pretty nice water
to not nice water and then back to nice water.
Yeah. Well, that crossing was like, it must have been what, 2 miles and change of just wide open, no relief.
Yeah.
Like no coastline anywhere near. And the waves were huge, and I had I couldn't stop rowing because my boat doesn't track on its own, it's like I've got to have a horse in the water to track.
And that's with a lot of your stability and stuff too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Totally. So like I was basically just white knuckling for that, that whole half hour that it was, and I was like scared shitless, like on the edge, taking waves over my bow, over the garboard, getting totally swamped, like all my food stuff is getting drenched, and I'm just like singing like corny 90s songs just to keep myself like distracted, because like you just go back to your childhood stuff where all the lyrics to like Alanis Morissette or some shit. And I'm just like in distraction mode,
just like keep moving, keep moving,
exactly.
Keep moving. Yeah.
And then I hit Point Jefferson. I think that's Point Jefferson. And I just totally ran aground. Like I just slammed right into the beach.
Unintentionally? Or?
Yeah, totally.
Oh man.
Yeah, because I hadn't been checking behind my back. I was just gunning for the point, and I'm kind of looking at navionics on my phone, but it's also raining. So the rain is like messing with my phone, and
the rearview mirror is like, do you have a rearview? You have a rearview?
No,
okay.
I didn't rig one up this year.
I mean, at night, I'm sure it doesn't really do anything anyway. Yeah.
No. So, I just blasted right into the beach, but I was stoked at that point. Like I was so thrilled to hit land.
You're like, well, I guess that means it's time for a break. Yeah.
Right.
Sandy, no rocks. That's awesome. So tell me about the boat and stuff, because you built it yourself, right? And and then Brandon designed it, or
it was a real the whole thing is like the coolest community locals story, right? So back up to 2019. Brandon at Turnpoint had designed this rowing wherry because I think there's some story I'm not really familiar with, but I guess his daughter had a friend and they wanted to do some race, like some long distance rowing race.
Okay.
And so he designed this boat that was it was really cool. It had a sliding seat track that went 10 feet across the cockpit, so you could set it up for single or a double.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And so my buddy Joel, he runs the workshop at the Maritime Center. He was in boat school at the Wooden Boat School in Hadlock in 2019, and they built that first version of the PT Wherry. And Joel and Leland, who was an instructor at the boat school, they raced that year in that boat, in that first PT Wherry design, and they did really well. Like Joel is a big guy, and so is Leland. They're both like tanks of dudes. And they killed that race. They came in 15 hours, and I think it was 15 hours and 13 minutes. And I know that because Joel wrote that time in Sharpie on my cockpit this year.
Oh, really?
Saying this is the time to beat, man. Get after it if you could. So that's 2019, and then just last year, 2023, me and the guy I work with, Leo Goulden, who does Samson Boat Co. We decided we're gonna throw our hat into the ring for 7048, and that was our first race. That was our first time doing the race, was last year.
Oh, okay.
And I did it in that same boat that Joel and Leland raced in.
Oh, okay.
But I did it as a single, and I think I came in 13 minutes later than what Joel and Leland had done it in 2019.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So they beat me by 13 minutes.
13 minutes,
And I was
yeah.
so pissed. I was like, I
Wow.
was mad about that for the whole year, like leading up to this year's race, right?
I mean, an extra person, though, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I spent the year being bitter, and then
Bitter and working out.
so yeah, last year I got beat by Joel and Leland by 13 minutes, and didn't let that go for the whole year. Yeah. Meanwhile, I've been talking to Brandon at Turnpoint, and he was kind of interested about making like a super light version of that same boat, the PT Wary, and he had watched me race the year before, and he was like, yeah, dude, like if you want to build a boat, like I'll cut the kit for you, and you can just pay for the plywood and just have the kit and pay for the glue, and just do it on your spare time. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll freaking take a deal on a boat like that. And so like January I got the kit and started building it, and Joel was super cool, and he let me use shop space at the Maritime Center. Oh, okay. But more importantly, like he really like walked me through the whole process, because I mean I work on for Samson Boat Co. on this really old school traditional wooden yacht where it's like sawn frames and 1.5 inch planking that's riveted together, and so like this stitch and glue construction was very foreign to me, right? Okay. I was like, man, really struggling with just like trusting glue to like hold a boat hull together, and so Joel like really walked me through the whole process, and he was just there for every millions of questions I had. And yeah, he really like I couldn't have done it without Joel. And so yeah, the boat was built pretty much built the entire thing at the Maritime Center, and then brought it back to the Samson Boat Co. shop, and I finished the build a week before the race. I saw on your Facebook or whatever. Yeah, it was gnarly, dude. Like, so I had 5 days to train
and test it out. Yeah, better do it right the first time. No redos.
Yeah. But it was also cool because leading up to the race, that original boat, the original kind of heavier PT Wary, belongs to a really good friend, Holly Kays, who she's one of the people that runs the Schooner Martha Foundation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's one of the mothers of Martha. She cut all the sails, and she's like she's really involved, and she's also a world-class rowing athlete. She's like a silver medalist in American worlds rowing. Yeah,
that's funny how so many
totally legendary.
Yeah. So many people come here.
And she's one of those classic people you'd never know it because she's so humble. And never talks herself up, but she's like. So yeah, she's the one that loaned me the old boat last year, and she also has been like a huge coach to me and everything, and we've rowed together a bunch, and like, God, she's just great. So she let me use her boat to train a bunch this year, but yeah, it was a week before race day that I finally finished and launched my boat. And got it rowing, and figured out how to put the freaking oars in the oar locks and just all that last minute stuff. Right up to the wire.
What are dimensions and stuff? Like, how much does it weigh? What's the
81 pounds? Totally rigged, which I was really like, that's pretty amazing. It's a 22 foot long Wary, and it's got a top deck. It's got like a foredeck with a stowage hatch up there, and then it's got like an interior decked cockpit and everything. It's pretty involved, and yeah. So the fact that it's only 81 pounds,
Yeah.
pretty awesome. And just to compare, like last year's, where the original version, it finished out at 121 pounds.
Oh, okay.
So that's a big difference.
That's a huge difference.
It's a huge, it's a huge difference. It took a lot for me to figure out how to handle the new boat, because it's like way more tender, you know? Way tippier. I mean, it's an identical hull shape, but yeah, just being so light, it's like way more responsive to each stroke, and it's like
not so much a build momentum as a
exactly. So
you get pushed around by chop and stuff a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely do a lot more bouncing.
In
waves and stuff. So yeah, so it was really cool. Like the Maritime Center and Holly and you know, Brandon. We kind of all, I mean, it was really a group effort between all of those folks. And you know, I thought like, and this is the first time I've built my own boat.
Okay.
So I entered the race just thinking like, damn, if I can finish the 70 miles from Tacoma to here in the boat I built, then that's good like of a shakedown as you can get.
Right there,
and, like, I'd be stoked for that. But so like the whole story from the beginning, I guess, is that I've always been following Boogie Barge.
Yeah.
I'm Boogie Barge's biggest fan, right?
Okay. Like, those guys are rad. Yeah.
So cool, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just the engineering behind it, and like figuring out the prop drive and all that stuff. Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah.
Right? And he always finishes like way ahead of the pack.
It's so quick. Yeah. It's like such a cool, like different alternative, like way of propulsion, but still so efficient. And you're just like,
super cool dude, high school teacher.
Oh, right? Okay.
So he's got the facilities there at the high school, I guess, where he could just
little corner of the shop, keep over sure, 12 months.
I'm sure it's such a vibe at
that makes sense. Yeah, because every year it's like they come back, or he comes back with like something cooler, like bigger, like whatever, you know. It's like a further iteration. And so this year he showed up with a solo. He showed up with a solo contraption. Where he was just sitting on like a recumbent bike thing. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting, because you know, last year he was on like a 4-man. I think it was a 4. I guess the year is probably mixed up.
And I was like, huh, that's pretty cool. And you know, from the start, God, the start this year was like fucking so hype. I mean, you were there, you were right there with me at the front of the line, and I was just like, man, I was so riled up, dude. I was like so fired up, and the horn went off, and I just like went off in a sprint, and I realized that he and I were kind of pacing each other. You know, he was like, we were sort of like, me and Boogie Barge. We were sort of like back and forth, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be my guy, maybe. You know, this is gonna be like the person that I kind of track, you know. Because like out front, you know, like some of the racier doubles, and like who's the guys, the Beaver, like the Salty Beavers. That couple
Beavers
of dudes.
Rowing Club or something.
Which those guys are kind of legends. I think they won line honors a couple years ago. I think they won first place line honors. Maybe that was in 2019. I'd have to look that up. But anyway, those guys kind of passed me going into Culvas Passage, and I was sort of placed. I think I set myself up kind of in like 10th place in the beginning there. But yeah, there was Boogie Barge. And we're kind of hopscotching, and so I sort of set myself on him, you know. And then we get into Culvas Passage. My butt starts hurting. The wind's coming up, and man, I got to Southworth Point, and I was just knackered, just like totally thirsty, hungry, you know, really just beat. And so I like tucked in right behind the point where the ferry is, at Southworth there. And I'd get the hydration break and eat a bunch of meat sticks and a Snicker bar. And I even took a little video diary of myself, just saying like, okay, so I'm like pacing with Boogie Barge, and like I'm, you know, doing this thing. It's the sun just went down and nav lights are on, etc. And I looked at my Navionics, and I had drifted like 200 yards.
Oh,
south.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. And I was like, shit. Because the wind was so
yeah,
nuts.
just pushing you
and
in.
I was like, fuck. So I just stashed all my shit. I just, you know, threw all my stuff in the cockpit, and I saw Boogie Barge just take off, and I was like, God damn it. There he goes. You know? And I didn't see him again all night. Like from that moment, I was just solo. I was just like on my own. The whole night. Like I saw some people were setting up camp at Blake Island. You always see that.
You're like a big group. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe saw a couple of lights bobbing around, but like, yeah, I went the whole night just thinking to myself, like, well, Boogie Barge, he must be miles ahead of me, you know, in the freaking pedal drive twin pontoon thing that he's got going on. He must be way out there. And yeah, so did the whole Bainbridge stretch, played chicken with the ferry there, you know. That's always a tough spot because the ferry takes that turn around the shoal. Yeah,
you don't see him coming. It's just like
So I always wonder if I'm gonna hit that spot like after the last ferry goes to Seattle at like 1 o'clock or whatever. So yeah, I did that pass from Bainbridge to Jefferson, and that really shook me up a little bit, you know. I was kind of like, damn, this is, you know, because like I've got all the stuff, I'm prepared to swamp, and I'm prepped to go overboard if it happens, but like I did not want to, you know, at all. Like, I did not want to do that, dude. So
like I'm a lot more comfortable this way.
Yeah. So I got past Jefferson, and I'm going up the coastline there of that peninsula, heading into Point No Point, which is just the longest stretch ever, right? It's just like, you know, get me past this thing. You're just waiting to see the Kingston Ferry Terminal, and then you go into a cut there, and you think that's the Kingston Ferry, but then it's not, and it's just a big like endurance push that moment. So the sun came up at Point No Point, and I'm just like, I'm really, you know, my arms are pretty depleted at that point. I'm pretty like wet. I'm soaking wet. Yeah. It had just been steadily raining, and light wind on my bow the whole time. All my stuff is soaked. I had, you know, waves coming over my gunnels and stuff. It was kind of a gnarly night, but I was in high spirit. I mean, I love rowing through the night, you know. It's kind of one of the reasons I do this race is to get that.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like
that.
I'm apparently not a night person.
Yeah.
You know, like I would totally, that's definitely the reason, like probably the biggest reason, you know, I'm not doing it. Because it's just like nighttime, and I was hoping like everything else when I'm out like paddling just becomes like amazing. You know, but then like it got dark, and I was like, this is exactly as dark as I thought it would be. I'm so glad I brought a tent. Like I'm gonna leave this to the professionals.
Well, there was also no moon that night.
Yeah. So it was probably a darker night, but I was like, that's what I was thinking. So everybody always talks about, and they're like, it's bioluminescence and the moon, and it never really gets all that dark. And, you know, and then you're like, this isn't true at all. This is totally dark. There's no bioluminescence.
I was lied to.
Yeah.
I mean, the only light that you get was when you're around Seattle, and you get the city glow on the overcast.
Yeah.
Which, That's gross.
Like, there's
dude.
always lights along. I'm like, there's no lights on the shore.
So by the time I got to Point No Point, the sun had come up. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's about where you get sunrise and stuff. Yeah.
And I'm just like dragging ass, you know, and like way off in the horizon, I see the profile of this guy who's like leaning back like this. His hand is up here, and he's like, I don't know, like eating something like this, and it's freaking Boogie Barge, you know, and he's just on his recliner peddler thing, and I was just shocked that he was behind me, you know, because I totally had it in my brain that he was just blasting past. And I don't know if he pulled over that night or if he, you know, took a break or whatever, but I was like, oh my god. So for a second I was like, oh damn, I'm like beating him, you know, that's crazy. But then I took another look, and he was gaining on me so fast.
Well, I was ahead of him.
Yeah, I was, and then yeah, there he went. He slowly but surely just came up on me, and just kind of just like took the lead, like no real problem. I didn't really give him a fight at that point. I was like resigned to
like we
it.
still got 30 miles to go. I'm not about to like get into a sprinting thing with you right now.
Of course I was telling myself all the stuff like, well, he's got the gear ratio, and he's done he's got his senior high school students doing all the research on prop aperture and like pitch and all this. So, you know, I'm just gonna let him have it, right? Like, gonna let him have the win on this one. And then soon after I got past, I think I went to eat a bunch of snacks and drink some water. And I got a text from my dad, who follows the tracker, and he was like, "You're in 5th place right now. Like, go get it. You got what, 15 miles to the finish, and you're in 5th place." And I was just like, you're kidding me, you know? I was totally shocked by that. Like, no idea that we had placed that well, or that's where I was situated in the fleet. And I don't know, from there, I just took 2 Snicker bars, cracked them in half, and stuffed them in my mouth.
That's the Snickers commercial right there.
I just had a double Snicker bar just chipmunked in my mouth, you know. And I went on a full sprint I was right before Foulweather Bluff at that point, and snickered up and just freaking hit the NOS button, you know. And that was a full sprint from there all the way.
Wow.
Back,
yeah.
And I'm just like super amped, adrenaline's pumping, and I see Boogie Barge, and I just
you were able to run him down. Wow.
Just blasted past Boogie Barge, and I like, I saw him when I'm rowing. I'm just like, holy smokes, you know. And he said something like, dude, we're leading this solo class right now. And that was another shocker to me. Like, how is that fucking possible, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, damn, that is insane. And I'm on my adrenaline vibe, just digging for freaking gold, you know? And I'm like, no way this is a thing. So I called Jesse Weigel, the race boss.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, and of course, this is all via Siri, right? Where I was just like, hey, Siri, call race boss. And Siri's like, go in, race boss, you know, because my hands were busy.
Yeah,
anyway.
You're about to stop to start working buttons and stuff. Yeah, exactly.
My phone was drenched anyway, so it wasn't about to work. I called Jesse, and I was just like, dude, what place am I in? You know? And he pulls up the tracker, and he goes, oh, well, it looks like last reading, you're right behind Boogie Barge, so you're gonna get second behind Boogie Barge. And I was like, no, I'm not. I was like, nah, dude. And he goes, yeah, well, if you overtook Boogie Barge, then you're leading solo class right now, dude. And so I was just like, woo! And freaking flew through the bridge. went probably a little bit too close to the army base there. The guys with the artillery rifles came out.
Oh yeah, did they come out?
Greeted me, yeah.
Look at you.
And I waved to them.
I feel like they're just enjoying the show.
Yeah,
we always go
I mean,
right along that fence. I have yet to be fired upon.
Right.
I was gonna go to the gate and offer them cards so they could like see what we're doing out there, but I figured, you know, with all the signs, maybe I'll do it with like an email or something.
Yeah, maybe an email.
Yeah.
I'm rowing and I'm like talking to Siri, and I'm like texting all these folks like Joel and Brandon and Holly, you know. All these people have helped me out. Steve Chapin is another guy.
Oh yeah,
you know Steve. He's like the Pocock, the steward of the Pocock racing show.
Yeah, that's
design. My boat, Polly Ellen, is the name of my boat. She's
Polly Ellen. Yep, that's right.
3.5 feet, I think.
3.5 feet. Wow,
something like that.
Yeah,
with 22 feet of water line though. So, yeah, so it's pretty. She's pretty beamy. She's definitely like an expedition rowing wherry rather than like a racing kind of thing, you know. So yeah, I think something was afoot. Like I maybe shouldn't have won this race, but like yeah, if it was weather, I mean, you could say it was probably weather, you know, and I don't know. I'm not going to try to analyze it too much.
Yeah, a lot of variables. Yeah, no, it's just an
pretty
awesome.
Hyped to just say that I got the freaking medal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is fun. It is fun to keep it in Port Townsend too. You know, like.
Well, that's what I was so stoked. I was like, oh man,
trying to get as many medals as we can.
Yeah,
for the Maritime Center events. You know? We'll see who shows up for this 360 race. It's been really funny to watch, or really fun to watch the Roscoe Pickle Train.
Yeah,
because those dudes they're all locals here.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Super freaking awesome squad, and they had a great race. I think it was like 4 days in. Odin, the captain, the head of the team there, he freaking bonked his head on the boom and gave himself a total gnarly concussion.
Oh wow.
But they had to pull over for a night, but they still finished top 10. They got 9th place overall.
Yeah, I know they perform really good.
Super freaking
wow, I had no idea.
I was so hyped to come in. And you know, because they were all hyping me up leading up to the race, and they were at the, you know, they saw me launch my boat and everything, all telling me shit like, yeah, bring it home for Port Townsend and all this stuff.
Yeah,
I was like, oh sure.
Right.
But, yeah, sure enough. Super fun story.
Yeah. No, that's why I don't know, one of the reasons I love the race, because it's just such a like mixed category grab bag of like anything goes, like non-standard categories.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, so many different variables.
Yeah.
You can't predict the whole thing.
Yeah.
Even if you're like, because I was trying to predict weather, you know, I'm always trying to predict weather going up to it, but you're like trying to look at it like in different points, and you're like, okay, check the weather for Gig Harbor. Okay, check the weather for Point No Point.
Yeah.
And then Port Ludlow, and they're all different, and trying to like just keep track of everything.
Yeah. Going through several different climates.
Yeah, you're like all these little climates, and then at the end, none of it pans out anyway.
Yeah, and it's also like, how impossible is it to try to read currents and stuff? Like, there's so many different like situations you're going through with Colvos is like total random, you know. It's like all the locals say, oh, it always flows north, but I feel like this year it wasn't the case.
Yeah, it was
I feel like we were battling current this year.
There's like, I think, a half knot occurring or something.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be the one easy part. I'm supposed to be ahead of all my calculations right now.
Yeah, right.
I was really counting on getting to Blake Island before it was like super dark.
Yeah.
This is super not happening.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember last year. Last year the conditions were pretty ideal.
Yeah.
It was like really calm, beautiful, clear night, full moon. You know, sun went down, moon came up, full moon. And then the morning it was totally calm and flat, no rain, nothing like that.
Yeah.
This year it was just like annoyingly
what are we, like La Nina or whatever, you know, like it's rainy late in the year.
Yeah.
It's like still windy.
Yeah. The Saturday morning was gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, the sun broke for us and had a really nice finish. Yeah, it was nuts this year coming in because, it was crazy. How many times have you, like, been affiliated with the, because I know that you usually, like, travel alongside.
Yeah,
like,
so
you've done it in your van before, right?
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. I did like the onshore following, and then at the end of that, I was like, God, it would just be easier to paddle this thing. Like, oh my God, because I did like, I don't know, a somewhat like not 70, but I did somewhere between like 30 and 50 miles anyway, because you'd be out and back, so you'd be like 10 miles here, 10 miles there, and then
trying to
last
coordinate
year,
everything.
trying to coordinate everything, and I was like, man, at least you get the current with you some of the time when you're like, you could pick and choose your moments when you have current, but when you have to paddle against it, it's just like, all right, let's just do this the right way. And then last year I was going to do it, but we were having a baby.
My dad was at a Dodgers game when I was born.
Yeah,
and he made it like. He got the call, and he left the game and got on a flight home, and he made it to the...
I tried to pitch that, but then she's like, I'm going to call you, and I'm going to be like, you're going to be like, it's 12 hours of paddling until I get there.
And you're like, I'm making a YouTube video.
Yeah, but I'm on a quest. And she's like, this is your quest, is being at the hospital. Yeah, it's like, well, what better place could I be when my daughter's born than doing 7048?
Right.
Maybe at the hospital watching your daughter get born.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it's so funny, dude.
And so so this year, I just couldn't, like, I had to be out there in some way.
Yeah.
And and I don't know. We'll figure out the logistics of how I'm going to do it. But I'm going to keep filming and keep paddling. I mean, it's like such an epic thing. But
totally.
I definitely acknowledge that, like, I'm not the go paddle at nighttime kind of guy.
That's hard to get footage too in the middle of the night, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the other. That's definitely the excuse. That's one of the reasons I went around Bainbridge, because like, there's nobody around. I'm going to spend 10 hours getting 30 seconds of time lapse. Screw it. Yeah. Let's just go get like more good shots. Like, I've hit a lot of points in my paddling career where I'm like racing, filming, and like I continually do the filmmaker choice. So, like, I would rather place worse, not train as hard, spend more time like filming, but like when I get to that crossroads of like filming or being a competitor, I constantly am like, I would rather film.
That's cool. I mean, I love that. I think that's totally rad, and like a lot of people benefit from that too. Like, like I'm one of these folks that's just really dying for more content about the race.
Yeah, exactly. And I like love it so much, and I'm like, okay, as much as I can. Well, if I share the excitement with everybody else, then like more people will be out there, whether it be paddling or rowing or
So did we have a record turnout this year? Was there? It was.
That's what I heard. I heard there was like a record number of craft or whatever.
Well, thank you.
Oh, sure. Not for me.
I think.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm good. Yep. Thanks.
Well, I heard that they like wanted the new start line for a while, or that's been like a goal since the beginning.
Well, it was pretty nice. I mean, last year during the start, I had a pretty gnarly collision with somebody.
Oh, because it all restricts.
So tight,
is that what it is? So this one, because it's closer and it opens up.
It's funny this year that we had to contend with the prom.
Yeah, I pulled up, and because I gave another Jay, who's one of the rowers, and I gave him a ride down there on Thursday, and he was like, oh, are you just like going down to Tacoma? Just like, and I was like, no. I'm like, I'm happy to go down there. Like, free trip, get my gas paid for, go be able to like scope this out and see. Yeah. Not to mention like it's nice to be involved and feel like you're doing a helpful thing and stuff. But I'm like, I'm scoping out what I'm getting into tomorrow. And so got to go down, and then saw the sign for the prom, and I came back because I had a buddy also driving me the next day. So I was like, I mean, it kind of seems poetic that like a guy named Jay posts on the forum, I've got my buddy driving me tomorrow. I just got to go with the fates like conspiring to do this. I'll just follow like destiny. Determining my path for me. Well, that's one of the reasons I love paddling and stuff, because it's like so clear when you're going the right direction. Like you're going against the wind and against the current. It's just like very obvious that you shouldn't be going this way.
Just change course.
Change course.
That's cool, man. You know, I haven't done too much paddleboarding.
If you ever want to go, I got a bunch of extra stuff.
Yeah.
Always happy to go and stuff. Yeah.
But I am like so deeply in love with that boat right now.
But it's nice to go play around for a day.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm always trying to meet up with squad and, you know, get out in the water.
Yeah. What's your like average like mile per hour traveling speed?
I can cruise pretty steady at like 5.5 knots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're like right there. You're like the same. I mean, I'm probably even slower. I'm probably like 5 maybe.
Yeah.
You know, depending.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.5. But there's a lot of times like. I mean, the board will go 5.5, but the current conditions are never, you know, you're always like, oh, why am I going 4.5?
Yeah, right.
You know.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I read the speedo on Navionics, and I'm just like, that's got to be wrong.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm going way better than that.
Well, there's so much wind and like stuff going on out here, you know.
Yeah.
You got to roll?
Not really. I mean, I should probably. We're on Tally-Ho. Are you familiar with the Tally-Ho project?
Yeah,
that YouTube channel?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, like, I certainly can't, like, you know, say I've watched all of her or anything, but I definitely, it's actually one of the inspirations that I got into it, because you kind of hear about it, and you're like, man, this guy's, like, funding, like, a whole sailboat project?
Yeah.
Like, boy, I should start filming some paddleboarding.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so, I mean, it's cool. I've definitely, there's, like, so much information and stuff, and...
Yeah, it's I mean, it's an amazing story. Like, just the fact that we're able to do a restoration like that at the level that we're doing it. It's all, I mean, it's all thanks to the platform, you know, the YouTube platform.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you can provide like this cool information. People eat up the information.
Yeah.
They benefit. Like the whole thing just kind of works in this like sustaining cycle.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you have this freaking object that's like the most immaculate thing that you could ever dream of. Yeah. And so we're gonna rig up our jack-eared topsail right now.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
It's like this light wind, like giant sail that goes way far aloft. It's super cool, dude. Yeah. So anyway. Yeah. That's gonna be my day after this. But,
that's rad. Yeah. I mean, that's growing up a sailor, that's what got me into my current job. I've got like a master's in IO psychology and, you know.
In what psychology?
Industrial organizational psychology, which I don't use at all. I climb trees.
Oh, so cool, dude.
It's so cool. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, this was really fun,
awesome.
Man.
Yeah, I'm going to cut this up and, you know, put it up somewhere, and I'll send you a link and everything. And,
yeah, dude.
Oh, perfect timing. Battery low.
And don't forget to smash that subscribe button.
If you liked it, please don't forget to subscribe below.